I'll preface this right off the bat and say that I've never made a video like this, but just a couple of days ago, I was chilling and listening to the Star World theme for New Super Mario Bros. Wii, and that got me thinking about game soundtracks and just how much they influence and affect their games. If it's not obvious, of course, there will be bias to music from the games that I have played, and just because I don't mention a game's soundtrack doesn't mean I don't think it doesn't deserve the recognition. All this video is a short analysis from a casual gamer on how much you should really appreciate soundtracks that go into video games. Now, even though most people are going to be mainly looking at gameplay or visuals, what really gives a soul to a game is its soundtrack. This allows a player to feel like they're in an area of the game and ties it all together. Not only does it give a game its identity, but it can also influence so many interactions throughout a playthrough. I find that music within games can be very spread out and convey a multitude of genres while playing. These genres, I would say, fall into multiple categories and can definitely overlap each other. The first genre that they can fall into would be intense or grand, or as I would describe it, the end boss music. This song is more than likely one of the main defining parts of a game's soundtrack, as it is one that is usually remembered compared to the rest. A prime example of this being the final boss theme from Bowser's Inside Story Grand Finale. These endgame bosses are designed to be a final obstacle for the player, like Nightmare King Grim from Hollow Knight. Alone, bosses can seem like a major threat, but when the accompanying music fits, it really gives the player a powerful rush that can keep you on your toes. Then on top of that, as you take more time in a boss fight or progress to a further phase, the music can get more intense. This second genre is a difficult one to describe, but the best way for me to put it into words would be that it doesn't have to stand out or perfectly match the rest of the game. All that it's required to do is fill in a bit of empty space that would normally be accompanied by a certain area. For instance, take Wii Bowling as an example. All the song needs to do is fill the empty space with something that's simple, not over the top, and that isn't too repetitive, and doesn't interrupt the flow of the game but simply enhances the mood. Another personal example of this would be Castle Crashers. While the player or players are focused on gameplay, the music can easily add to the enjoyment, just by being in the background. The song isn't trying to match the theme of Knights on a Quest, but more so, plays into the goofy aesthetic of the game, and makes it just an overall fun experience. A good amount of game soundtracks will lean more heavily into the overall atmosphere, and when it comes together, they can make a player feel like they're there in the world. Hollow Knight is a great example of this, where it can just emanate raw emotion of the area that you're in, whether that's the somber City of Tears, the calm and soothing Queen's Gardens, or the high-reaching minds of the Crystal Peaks. Ori and the Blind Forest also gives a good example of atmosphere, but also illustrates having a somewhat flow. When traversing through the world of Ori, a circular area stuck out to me, being where one song slowly changed to another similar one. This amount of flow capitalizes on making the world feel more interconnected, and doesn't make you feel like each area is just plopped next to each other. One more game I have to mention for ambience and atmosphere is Mario Galaxy 2, especially the Cosmic Cove Galaxy theme. Now, I do love chill game music, but this takes it to the next level by not only including a large amount of nostalgia for me personally, but having such a serenity that it matches the atmosphere almost to a perfect T. When you hear specific songs, a good amount will immediately tell you exactly what game you would be playing. A prime example of this would be Kirby, because when you hear the type of song, you know exactly what game series it belongs to. When you hear a Kirby song, they match perfectly with the character, giving off the energy of being fun, goofy, and happy. What's another example? Oh, I know. How about goddamn DK, baby? Not only that, but a game's soundtrack gives a cohesive identity to the game itself. And otherwise, I don't really know what else to say for this other than DK music slaps. What I have right now are just some short ideas that popped up in my mind when thinking about the grand scale of just how soundtracks can affect their games. First off, I'd like to say that they can elevate games, even if objectively the game isn't that good. For instance, take Paper Mario Sticker Star, a nostalgic favorite for me. This game, compared to the others, is often viewed as the worst. However, the soundtrack goes crazy for this game, with all the jazz and whatnot. I've even heard from a friend who played through it say that the soundtrack definitely improved his end take on the game. Secondly, nowadays the platform doesn't inhibit the quality of the soundtrack, while what you're playing it on does affect the gameplay. What I mean by this is that a game doesn't have to be a AAA or developed for a console/PC, and even mobile games can sport some catchy and meaningful soundtracks. My examples for this being Bloons Tower Defense 5, Plants vs. Zombies, and even Angry Birds. Next, I'm going to play a song from a recognizable game. After hearing this, you probably got a wave of nostalgia that took you back to when you first started playing. Yet when I play this, it takes you even further into the game, being Subspace Emissary. What this shows is that just by hearing a few seconds from a game's song, you can immediately have nostalgic memories, and that's just how powerful a game's songs can be for a person. Additionally, they can be used in different ways, like in Rayman Legends, where a player wants to follow along with the song with either attacking or jumping. Or they can be used in the background, but progressively change as the game gets more challenging. Also, music for soundtracks doesn't have to fill out a specific criteria for its use. Take boss music. Not every theme needs to be some grand, over-the-top, massive piece. They can still be intense, but not as loud and in your face. The last main thought I had is that we should appreciate that every game doesn't use one type of music only. Take orchestral. If every game used orchestral, then games would lose their individuality. Whether a game is goofy, calm, intense, or anything else, its soundtrack is really the thing that defines what the game is going for. Overall, I just really enjoy great game soundtracks, and I hope that you were able to take something away from all these overlapping ideas that I rambled about. At the end of the day, soundtracks don't fully make a game, but they damn well make sure that a game feels fun and alive.